Right, legends, what we've got then is the damage on the front bumper for this Ford Focus. So not particularly bad by all means. The bracket, see, sort of bracket housings are all intact, so that's all good. What we've got is just kind of like a small divot and like light hairline cracks on the surface, and then like an impression where something's pressed into it. So what we're going to do start off with on this is just jump on DA with an 80 grit disc, and we're going to just start taking some material off around there, and then we'll just do a small filler repair and we'll show you how to basically block that in and put that line back in. So let's go. So the great thing about plastic in, you know, that's used in car manufacturing nowadays, guys, is that you can essentially use it like it's a filler. You know, if it has had a nasty impression like this and you've got high spots, you can use a nice rough 80 grit or something just to sand them away. Like, that's almost flat now. So I'm just going to take a little bit more material from here and then sort this edge out, and then we're just going to go in with a small filler repair on there. So this will be a nice easy one. And the great news is, as well, as you can see, those little cracks that were in it were really only surface cracks. I've basically sanded them out now, so when we do a filler repair here, it means we haven't got to do any plastic welding or any stapling in that area. It's going to be a nice quick one. Now I'm just going to sand with a 180 grit disc just to smooth out this area on the plastic. It's important to do this because if you leave it finished at 80 grit and you fill, you can have some sort of furriness and fuzziness pop back through that filler, and it's a nightmare to get rid of. So if you make sure you smooth it down at this stage, it makes the filler side of it a lot easier. Also, I'm just using this area here. You can see the 180 feathers out the paint nicely as well. I'm using this area here to get the line just back in shape. As you can see from sanding this area, it will have moved that line up. So we want to basically bring it back down and put it back to where it's supposed to be, and then we're going to have a nice base to fill onto. And there we go, line's looking good again. So we'll do a little bit more feathering out, and then we'll go and mix up some filler.
We'll check it off, but it's not working.
So this is the filler we use, guys. U-Pole Fantastic. Great all-round filler, really. I'm going to do a little bit of a mix here, like 50-50. So we're going to use essentially half this and then half Dolphin Glaze, which is the finishing filler. And that's just going to give me the build from this filler, but also give me the smoothness of the Dolphin Glaze. Because a repair like this, really, you can get, you know, in one skim all day long. So I don't need a massive amount, and mixing it 50-50 should be able to get me there where I can get it in one skim and get it ready for primer shortly. And that's it. Little tips and tricks like this will save you absolute bags of time when it comes to doing these repairs. As you can see, this is probably not quite 50-50, but it's just enough so that the Dolphin Glaze gives us a little bit of smoothness. So I'm just going to mix those together first before we put any hardener in. I mean, Fantastic itself is quite a smooth filler anyway, but you can sometimes find it a little bit draggy and sort of pinholey, so just putting that Dolphin in just stops any of that. Okay, now I'll put some hardener in. Again, golf ball to a P, 50-1 is what we're going for, so I just put a couple of little blobs on there. It's really important not to over harden the filler, because if you do, it can just delaminate from the panel and fall out. You know, if it gets a slight impact or you know, even from vibration and things like that, it'll just fall out. And obviously you know, with that comes your paint and everything else that you've put on, and it makes the repair look horrific. So really important you don't over harden it. If it goes pink, you've put way too much hardener in, and really you want to scrap that and start again. You're looking for this nice beige colour. And you mix until there's no more hardness streaks appearing anywhere. You can see there's always a little bit left on the spreader, so you just want to work that back in. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed, and a good little tip as well is spread it thinly across the board, because the way filler cures is it generates its own heat. So the bulkier the amount on the board, the more able it is to generate heat faster. If you spread it thinly, it struggles to generate that heat while it's on the board, so you'll get a bit of a longer working time out of it, which is always a handy tip. Saved me a lot of wasted filler years ago when I learned that one. So we'll just start to load a bit in there now, and all I'm going to do is just start back towards here, work my way back towards the damage, because I just want to get that end in there and get that feathered out reasonably well. And our sort of main low spot is down here, so I'm going to angle that spreader back down as I'm skimming down there and just load that up. Give it a good pull through to even everything out. So, you know, when you get to that stage, you can sort of just rub the spreader along the edge, clean off any excess there. Helps us to bring it back in at a slight angle as well, and that'll just taper it and feather it for you. Ooh, avalanche. And then I'm just going to bring a little bit in and just feather this end out just a touch more. And then what I'm going to do, so we haven't got to go mad blocking above here, I'm just going to let the spreader follow that profile, and then I can see exactly where my swage line is when we come to block it. And really, as long as I take that down and take that excess off, we're all good. That repair is going to be good as gold. Just going to tidy that little line up at the bottom just a touch more. Not thrilled with that. And then just unload a little bit on the top edge there. Again, just areas where you can easily sort of rub through or rub it down a bit quick on those edges. It's always good to put a little bit more on, just acts as a bit of a cushion. So that there now, we'll get that dry, I'll give that a bit of lamping or heat gunning, and then we'll come back in with a minute. We'll just go straight with the 180 and block that down. So time to go in with some guide coat. This is a dry guide coat. It's basically a fine black powder. Shake up the applicator, wipe it on, and the purpose of guide coat is it's going to show us while we're sanding if there's any areas that still need sanding or if there's any low spots. So we'll start to block that now and you can see how it works. So we've got our block set up with a 180. I've got dust extraction set up as well, so we're going to be using that. Shout out to Merca, send us some cool stuff. What we're going to do is, it's always really important, use a flat block if you're blocking a flat area like this, because if you sort of, you know, want to go in and hand sand, let's say you're sanding like this with your finger in the sandpaper, you're going to put a groove wherever your finger's pressing. So really try and use a flat block. You know, if you don't have an extraction block Velcro like this, even a really flat piece of wood if you're doing this at home, or a flat piece of metal, just something you can get flat contact with. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in a crossways motion, so this way and then back the opposite way. So we'll switch on the vacuum and we'll get going. So we've got our guide coat on now, guys, and we've got our block set up with a 180 strip on the block, and we've got our dust extraction there. Shout out to Merca, send us some cool stuff. So it's always important to use a flat block for this kind of repair if you can. Obviously we've got this nice flat face on the arch line here that we can essentially just use that block, and we're going to use it in a crossways motion. So it's essentially like drawing an X. We're going to go that way and then we're going to come back this way. By doing that, we're going to even that filler out nicely, and the block's as long as the filler as well, so it's going to create a nice flat repair. You can sand it in a linear fashion like this, but it's very easy to send this end low or kind of gouge the end of the bumper up a little bit, so we don't want to do any of that. So we're going to use the sort of crossways pattern. That's going to blend it out nicely for us. So what we'll do, we'll turn the dust extraction on and we'll start blocking, and you'll get to see what this guide coat's all about as well.